does it feel to be back?
It feels good, especially now that it's not quite as on fire as it was. Yeah, it's been a tough year for California. It was all that rain last year for the first time in how long, and then it all caught fire. So we're glad everything's okay, and we're sorry for the people that lost property and lives. Oh my goodness. There are so many memories and there's so many wacky, wacky experiences and so much that I don't remember. Um, let's see what's great. There was a million. I wrote a song in my garage with Carole King once. Like you said, I had lunch with James Brown. That was amazing. But mostly it's just like the music and performing in the band, and we just it's the music. The music makes me happy.
Now, how did the Carole King collaboration come about?
I have no idea how that happened. At some point, I had built a little studio in my garage, and different people would end up in there. Colin Hay, Carole King. I mean, it would just, I don't know. It was just in those days, when you're in that position, when you're having a little success in the business, that, you bump into people. And if we're musicians, we just like to make music, so that's what we do.
What is your favorite song to perform live?
Usually it's the newest one we're bringing into the thing. We have a new album coming out next year. The single's coming out in November. And we're starting to play those live. And so every one of those that's like the newest one to perform is usually the most fun.
In particularly the early days, I loved your style. Like, who influenced you at that time? Was there a lot of different people that you sort of, how did it?
I, I think style-wise, I've just always loved a certain era. And I was a huge fan of Katharine Hepburn, and I loved the 30s and 40s style, even though it was very big in the 80s. I was, I guess, not the Lone Ranger in liking that style because the shoulder pads showed up in mass. But I like a tailored look. It's almost verging on military, where it's you can really cut a profile. I'm not very girly. I'm more masculine, so I don't wear a lot of flowy, beautiful things like that. I'm more so. But yeah, that's kind of what I just look around. I see what's in the thrift store.
Stay.
I love the thrift store. The jacket I will be wearing tonight was from the Goodwill. It's very beautiful.
Fantastic, the Goodwill out here? Or?
No, up where I live in Oregon.
Oh, in Oregon. So what are the thrift stores like there? You see a lot of amazing classic vintage?
Fantastic, because I live out in the middle of nowhere, so a lot of people haven't already picked over the things. I live out on a farm outside of Portland, Oregon, so I just got 4 new alpacas, which is awesome. Yes. So yeah, there's little thrift stores all over my little burg, and I just go, and there's a Goodwill in the town next town over. So
Now the alpacas,
Oh.
and you have named, how many do you have in total?
I just got 4 alpacas that I found on Craigslist. Yep. They came with names, but I'm not sure they're going to be keeping their names. It's like Coco and Champ and Zoe or something like that. I don't know. But I built them a fabulous new place. The gals that I bought them from were just moving. They were downsizing, so I got a good deal on them, on some alpacas. But they are lovely, and they make the most beautiful little sounds. I want to try to record them and have them for backup singers because they just kind of good stuff. And my publicist, who's a fabulous person, also spins. So we will take the wool and we will spin it and make you a sweater.
That would be fantastic. I would love that. An alpaca sweater is
Yes.
like my dream. That would be beautiful. Thank you. Compare both.
Internet, easier and difficult, Internet and computers have allowed everybody to make wonderful music in their homes. That also makes for a lot of music to be sorted through. It's still the main problem is you can make music, but you still have to promote it. You still have to market it. I myself have made albums that I have put onto the internet only to watch them completely disappear because you still have to manage social media. I'm not good at social media. I don't have a Facebook page. The band does. I don't. I'm too busy taking care of alpacas and things. But it's definitely a skill, and it's something you have to do now. So that's why my alpaca wool spinning publicist does a fabulous job on all that, and and I don't have to. I think that y- you know there's so much that frustrates me about the era we're in musically. Um, I think it's more core even than just internet. I think it's just what people want for themselves from the business instead of wanting to just create and make wonderful music. I think there's a big emphasis on celebrity and being a star and living that lifestyle, which, let me tell you, I don't know. I mean, I sort of passed by that lifestyle for a bit in the 80s, but it shouldn't be about that, and it shouldn't be about celebrity. It should be about creating wonderful new music. And I think that gets mixed up in this day and age with too many people just wanting to be stars, you know? So I don't know if that has to do with computers, but I know that marketing has, I don't know when it happened. Yeah, actually, a lot of it happened in the 80s. You know, everybody was putting their signature on their clothes. You know, everybody was marketing everything. You know, it was brand, brand, brand. I am not a fan of the brand. But you have to do it. You can't not brand yourself these days. So I'm sitting here going, no, no, don't brand us. And then I went, I guess we have to be branded. So we're the Motels.
In style, we kiss all together from no intention. We lie about each other's drinks. We live without each other, thinking what anyone would do without me and you. It's that memorable you, only could say. So hold on, here we go. Hold on to something we know. I feel so lonely without you. You mentioned the time we were together.
Who were some of your influences in music?
I have a very eclectic, since the first album that blew my mind, I was like 5 years old, and my mom had a wonderful collection of 78s. Yes, I'm old. And she would put on this record called The Rite of Spring by Igor Stravinsky, and it would flip me out, and I would just sit there and stare at the turntable going around. So I loved that when I was just a wee tot, and she also had like Jelly Roll Morton and like all kinds of great jazz and stuff like that. So that sort of seeped into my psyche, and then I fell in love with musicals when I was the first time I was ever on stage. I did Negro spirituals. I loved spirituals always. I mean, the music is just the melodies and the just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful songs. And that was the first time I ever performed. I was like in 4th grade. My teacher took my little guitar and I went up and sang "We Must Walk This Lonesome Valley" and "Swing Low, Sweet Chariot" or something. But then I fell in love with musicals, and there's a little bit of folk in there. I liked Odetta and Buffy St. Marie, and then I fell in love with soul music when I was a teenager. Loved R&B and soul. And I couldn't figure out, you know, I was playing guitar since I was 8, so I just sort of picked it up and I would noodle my way, totally self-taught, just a thing. And when David Bowie came along, it was like he put all of the things I loved together, like the musicals and there's a lot of like almost Stravinsky-esque stuff. I think Ronson had a lot to do with that, but just in there, the musicality of it, and I don't know, so I fell in love with David Bowie hard, so hard that I went, I want to do this, and that was what, and I remember shaving off my eyebrows and going to New York to see him, and everybody knew I was from California.
How did they know?
They just went, oh, California. Obviously, I was not very New York.
November 1st, you have a new single coming out,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And where did this all happen? Where did you record it? Yeah.
It's a project that's been going on for some years, mostly because I live up in Oregon, Marty lives in Seattle, and the rest of the boys live down here. So we get together when we can, and we would record. The album started at my house when I had just built this new studio in my basement, and we recorded like 3 tracks there. Parts of some of which I think still remain, part of on the new album, but then my basement flooded and I went, I've had it with this. And so I basically moved all my gear down to Nick Johns, who's, he produced the record and engineered it. And so I just shipped all my gear down there, and we basically recorded it at his place, which was a loft downtown. And then he would sometimes come up, and he'd bring his laptop, and we'd do some vocals or we'd do some stuff. So it's kind of like that. And it's taken 3 years because of going back and forth, but it has been done 4 months now, but we're just waiting for everything, getting all the artwork and everything and revamping everything. And it's a beautiful album. The new single, Lucky Stars, is coming out November 1st, and the rest of the album will be released into the wild the beginning of next year. So I love this album. It's beautiful, it's tragic, and you can dance to it.
What do you like to do in your downtime? What's one of obviously your farm with your alpacas, that's a big interest.
That's basically what I do. I'm a dirt girl. I go home and I work on my property. I mean, there's always writing to be done, which is always wonderful. I'm also working on a musical with another friend and a TV show with another friend, so just creative stuff. And then when I'm not doing creative stuff, just digging in the dirt or planting a garden. Or I plant my gardens really late because I'm always get busy right when you're supposed to be doing that. And in Oregon, the season starts late anyway because it rains for a long time. And so I always plant late, but right now my sunflowers are just going crazy. And my corn, too. I'm like, it'll never make it in time, but it was fun trying.
And what other vegetables do you have in your garden?
Oh, boy, radishes and turnips and cabbages, and the deer are really enjoying a lot of it. And tomatoes, wonderful tomatoes, the usual suspects.